Welcome back to Let's Make a Game, a channel about making computer role-playing games using the free program Twine and the Sugarcube format for Twine. In this video, I would like to continue talking about the activation-based combat mechanic that we've been discussing for the last few videos. More specifically, I'd like to talk about the code that governs the choice of how many activations to attempt for a given character. So we have these buttons that the player can click for 1, 2, or 3 attempts, and then that rolls the results randomly and then gives us the result. So in this case, 1 success and 1 failure. Of course, we get different results if we attempted different amounts, and we'd get different results at different times because it is based on randomness. So let's look at the code. Firstly, I will say, although we've talked about this before, we do have some code in the style sheet to round the corners of the buttons. The default of buttons in Twine is that it has a sort of rigid corner, a right angle corner, but we've set the border radius to be 8 pixels, which is a certain amount of rounding, which I think looks better. More substantially, we set up this variable display text, or display_text, which is a variable that we're going to, it's a set of text and formatting that we're going to print in display in between the images of the enemies. We have printing the display text, and then we have the images of the player characters at the bottom. And that text, that variable, simply has, it is, for example, Nicodemus the Unready's turn to act, and then we have the 3 buttons. Each of those buttons will send us to the passage roll, R-O-L-L. The difference will be the variable y, which will be how many activations we're going to attempt, 1, 2, or 3. Sorry, I highlighted. There we go. Highlighted the wrong thing there. So the player clicks those buttons when they're printed in display, and that goes to roll. We've got a reminder here that y is the number of rolls. We need to keep track of the number of successes and failures. We use W and X respectively for that. We need to know the percentage chance of a given attempted activation succeeding. If the player characters are acting, we get that out of CHAR_chance. And if the enemies are acting, we get that out of enemy_chance. That is the variable that has the numerical chance of success for each character. The slot is always governed by the variable acting_CHAR, which is of course the acting character. So once we've got Z2, we have a for loop that goes from 1 to Y, the number of attempts, and we simply say if random 1 to 100 is less than or equal to Z2, because Z2 is a percentage, then we increase W, the number of successes, otherwise we increase X, the number of failures. And that's simply what we do. All we need to do after that, all of this code from that point down, is just working out what to tell the player. So it says something like, Nicodemus the Unready gets, let's say, 2 successes, for example, if W is equal to 2, possibly and, if he's got both a success and a failure, at least one failure, something like that. So it'll create a message depending on the number of successes and failures, which will be in the format Nicodemus the Unready gets 2 successes, or Nicodemus the Unready gets 1 success and 2 failures, and so on. And then we, having put that into display_text, we then print it. Now you might say, well, why can't we just print it as we go? Why store it in display text and then print that at the end? It doesn't seem to have any point. Well, it doesn't at the moment. The reason for doing that is that we're not going to display this result on this page. Once we add code, we're going to display that result on the display page. But that's something we'll talk about in the next video and in videos to come. But of course, what we haven't done is we don't have any consequences for that, because what's meant to happen is that if you get 2 failures, the other side gets their go, and if you get a certain number of successes, you're meant to have that many actions. So that's what we'll be adding to the program in the in videos to come. But I will leave it there for now. I hope that was useful or interesting to at least some of you, and I hope you will tune in next time.